background on me. Out of college, I went to college in Miami-Dade, North Carolina. I went to work straight to Ford Motor Credit Company. I was there for 15 years, had 13 promotions, ended up being a regional operation manager, regional marketing manager, and a branch manager. And that gave me the experience to do the businesses because I was involved in, approving and packaging up mergers and acquisitions of big dealerships. And that's kind of what the background for business sales and business brokering. I'm going to go over today. There's a lot of business owners in the group. I'm going to go over if you were preparing your business for sale. This is a presentation I do to help people on an exit strategy, whether they're looking now or in the future to exit out of their businesses. So that was a little bit of background. I kind of went over my bio and accreditations and so forth. As part of Business Brokers Florida, International Business Brokers, and so forth. The first thing when someone wants to sell a business, I ask them, well, what are you going to do when you sell? Because I've had businesses, we work this thing for a year and a half, it's ready to go, and at the very last day, they back out of it. They don't sign the offer, and it's even at their price, because you know what? I really don't want to retire, I don't know what I'm going to do. So one of the first questions that happens, and it happens more frequently than you think. So the first question is, what are you going to do? What's your life look like today? What's it going to look like tomorrow? If you retire tomorrow, I ask them, what are you going to do? What's your hobbies? What's that look like? Can you see yourself? And, they'll say, no, I'll talk to my wife all day, I got nothing to do. Well, they're not ready, so what's it look like? Well, I'm going to go camping, I'm going to go travel, I'm going to go to the beach. Well, start doing some of those things right now. So, one of the first steps is meet with the business broker and pick the right business broker. I see a lot of people, you only need a real estate license to sell a business. I see so many people that go with the residential agent that puts it on MLS like a house. No one's going to see a business on a house. If they're not buying a house, they're buying a business. It's almost negligent. I've seen a couple where a residential agent never sold a business, put it on the MLS, and the people, they have no chance of selling it, because even if you're a business broker, only 20 to 30% of the business actually sell. They ended up suing that person for misrepresentation or negligence because they weren't a business broker, they're not part of the BDF. There's a huge difference. So anybody selling a business, they want to work with a business broker who's part of the Business Brokers of Florida or International Business Brokers. Business valuations are a very hard thing. That's the one thing every single day I'm struggling to learn more and more on how to value a business. There's no exact science that you put it in like a house and there's 3 comps and this is the price. It's much more complex. So that's something we're always working on. Your reasons to use a business broker. Well, I tell a seller, well, what are you doing now? You've got a full-time job running your business, right? It's a job to sell your business. Are you going to run your business or try to sell it? And then the other thing is, if they're trying to sell it themselves, they may have 3 or 4 or 5 contacts in their industry, but that's this much percent of the possible buyers. Why not work with a business broker that's going to open it up to the whole world and buyers internationally? It's supply and demand. You want 5 people looking at your business, or you want, 1,300 people looking at your businesses that could bring you more money. Right. So that's the value. So it's basically supply and demand. The business brokers have the expertise. We understand the confidential. It's confidential, the process. We keep the process confidential. We have negotiating skills, value. We can help them value. 97, 98, 99% of business owners do not know the value of their business. As a business broker that's evaluating every, seminar there is, I struggle still exactly, what is the price of this business compared to others. It's something I'm learning every day. One of the first steps I tell them is go talk to your tax accountant. I had one on a big landscape company. He had never depreciated his equipment, okay? Which is, I don't understand. It's a tax savings, right? And now he wants to sell. You got to go talk to, go talk to somebody else, an accountant. So that's an example. And when you're selling a business, there's how you allocate the sale versus the price and versus equipment. There's different implications for the taxes. There was one, a $10 million sale, and there was an SBA buyer, and they wanted him to hold a seller concession that puts him on a second lien position. And, you know, he said, you know what, I'll finance the whole thing for 90% of it. So if this thing closed, he didn't take any money because that 10% down covered the cost. But the guy he wanted retirement income at a lower tax rate. He had the building which they leased, and then the income of that, you know, that $9 million is paid over time, and he just wanted that monthly income. If it ever failed, he'd take that business back and sell it again. So there's a lot to do working with your tax and your financial planners are also someone. What are you going to do with that money? We want them to talk to those two people.
Give me the eye.
As far as one of the bigger things, there's a lot of demand for good businesses. A good business is one that has tax returns, shows all their income, that if someone gets an SBA loan, and Greg knows that the buyer can pay the loan, the debt service on that loan, and there's still enough income to pay him a salary and hopefully income or profit. So that's a really good businesses, and those businesses sell all the time. The bigger they are, 10, 20 million, there's more buyers for those businesses.
Crazy.
You know, documentation required, you know, we need tax returns, profit and loss, balance sheets, employee lists, vendor lists, customer lists. Some of that's not shared till later when there's an offer. And, you know, there's a lot of, you know, adjustments that are made in the process and the qualification, get them with the lender. These are examples of some restaurants, different restaurants that close or for sale. This is what a business listing looks like when we put them in our system. It's about the numbers. Because what the buyer, the average time to sell is 6 to 9 months really, then a couple months, 2 to 3 months to close after that. It depends, bigger deals take longer. You know, who's your buyer? If it's a smaller deal under $500,000, it could be, you know, a first-time business owner, an entrepreneur, someone local. If it's a bigger business, it could be a merger and acquisition. Sometimes there are strategic buyers that want to merge businesses, and there's serial entrepreneurs that will buy 5 landscape companies, put them together, then they sell them later for twice the multiple, or twice as if they would have sold them individually. So those are examples of buyers. You know, seller financing, like I mentioned, there was one, he took the whole 90% on seller financing. But the more, if they do 10%, 20%, 30%, you know, it helps sell the business, and it is high. So, you know, what is the buyer asking when someone's selling a business? Well, why are they selling? And, you know, that's some information on there. Thank you very much.